On this episode of Ford Racing Nation, we'll be installing the JLT Ram Air intake on our 2000 convertible. Alright, the first step is to remove the factory airbox. Grab a 5/16 nut driver, ratchet, and loosen the gear clamps out. Next step, unplug the IAT sensor if your car is equipped, along with the mass air sensor. You can grab a screwdriver to pull off the hoses and as well as loosen up the smaller gear clamps for the IAC valve and the vacuum. Once you have those done, grab your 5/16 or 10mm wrench and unscrew the nut holding the factory airbox in. Bolt, actually. And it should just rip right out. Gently, of course. Once you have it removed, take the old box, throw it away. Alright, once you've done that, unscrew the gear clamp off the mass air meter and pull it apart. Next step, take a 10mm wrench and undo the 4 bolts that are holding on the factory airbox canister. Make sure it's clean. This one's pretty good. Not going to worry about wiping it down. Next up, gasket and the new mass air meter adapter to the air filter. These are 11mm. Take them, snug them up. Next up, since ours was equipped with an IAT sensor, we had to mark and drill a hole. The way to do this is on the bottom side, it's 2 inches in from where the filter actually fits on. And the hole size you're drilling is a 3/4. So grab a measuring tape, mark it with a marker, check it twice, and drill a hole. Now we're using a step drill just because it's a lot easier to use those. You can pick them up at Harbor Freight or in Canada, Princess Auto. Make sure there's no burrs. Next up is putting in the rubber grommet. Now this is a little bit of a pain to get in, and your sensor is just going to shove into it after you put it in the car. We actually had to use a screwdriver to pop it in. Like I said, a little bit of work, but nothing major. Alright, next up we're putting the silicone coupling that's also going to mount to the mass air meter. Try to make sure your gear clamps are nice and straight with each other. Just a prettier setup when you're done. It looks nicer. I had to take a small screwdriver, shove it around the rubber coupling, silicone coupling, just to get the mass air meter fit right. And tighten that up as well. Next up, we put on the silicone reducer for the throttle body, and now we're putting on the filter itself. Alright, now it's all ready to bolt in, slide into place. Put another gear clamp around for the throttle body. And it should just slide right on. If you have a little difficult time, you can use a small screwdriver like we did to get it onto the master meter. Now we're going to plug in the master meter as well as plugging in the IAT sensor. Once it's on, line up your gear clamp again and tighten up. Now we're putting on the little adapter that fits on for the vacuum lines, as well as plug in your IAC valve. Don't forget to tighten up that gear clamp as well. Alright, next up is the ABS heat shield, last piece of the puzzle. Now take the factory bolt that you took out and reinstall it. There you have it. Go and check everything, make sure it's all snug. That's it, you're done. Easy peasy.
Alright, so we just showed you the video of installing the JLT Ram Air intake system. Okay, we did it when we were in Mustang Week because that's where we picked it up, and we just couldn't wait to bolt the system on. It was basic, simple, easy to do with just simple hand tools. And the factory airbox system, yeah, we left it at Mustang Week and we just threw it in a dumpster. Now, some people will say, well, what's the horsepower rating on these things? Okay, well, we had a SET tuner in it, an X4, and with the JLT Ram Air system, you'll see an 8 to 12 horsepower increase. Now, it's not really going to grab you by the seat of the pants, but it's definitely there, and that sounds like a realistic mark. To bolt a system on and expect huge gains, I mean, especially for, you know, 220 bucks, 8 to 12 horsepower for 220 bucks, 230 bucks is awesome. All right, it's simple to do, anybody can do it, and the kit comes in multiple different colors as well. We just went with the basic black textured intake tubing. Now, Jason also sells color match to match your vehicle. That's a totally different process. It's not, you cannot take the black textured intake tube and paint it to match your car, because the whole process, the way the tube's designed and coated and painted, that's why you'll see them and they're a lot glossier and they don't have the textured look, because it's a totally different plastic, totally different piece. So a lot of people say, well, let's put this thing on the dyno and see what it can do. But realistically, you cannot test a cold air or Ram Air system on a dyno. Reason being is you're not getting the volume of air into the motor. That little fan they put in the front of the vehicle when the car's on a dyno, that's not there for the air being drawn into the motor. That's there just to cool off the engine, the radiator. The real test is when you're driving down the highway doing, you know, 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. That's when more air will be rammed into the system and into the motor. All right. Now, the benefits of having the aftermarket to the stock is not only the large cone filter on the front, it's actually the inlet tube itself. The way it's constructed, it's got a smooth, high gloss finish on the inside, which just flows and rams the air into the throttle body. Okay. The nice thing too about it being plastic and not made of aluminum is that it doesn't conduct the heat as much, it doesn't attract the heat as much as what the metal would. Even that's why the heat shield is made of plastic as well, so it does not absorb the heat from the engine. Okay. I actually had one guy come up to me at Mustang Week and say, oh, you can build a system for half that price if you know how to TIG weld. Why would you? For 230 bucks for this system, you think I'm going to waste my time getting a bunch of tubes, elbows, break out the TIG welder and start welding it? You know, it's even form fitted around the shock tower. I mean, that's hours of labor intensive. And I don't know about you, but for 230 bucks, my time is better spent doing other things than trying to make myself a cold air Ram air intake system that looks as nice as a JLT. And the function of this unit, we know it works, we know it makes horsepower, and to try to build your own system to to make the same amount of gains as what you can buy from JLT, it's just ludicrous. I can't imagine anybody thinking that they can do something better. All right. The reason why, see, back in the day when I first started this 20 years ago, these products were very, very hard to come by. And it was nice enough for Jay at JLT to realize this and then decide to start a business making intake systems that actually work and are functional. I mean, back in the day, we had to basically fabricate our own. Trust me, if turbo guys and supercharged guys just go out and buy all their expensive inlet tubing and all that for these high horsepower cars without fabricating it themselves, they definitely would, because it's just so much time consuming. And to have somebody build something already that's easily available, and if you break it, you can just go buy a new one. You don't even have to fab it up again. I mean, it's worth it.